I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'd like to talk about the 8th house, the most misunderstood house of all. It is the house of death. But really, what is death? Death is one of the biggest transformations that we make in a lifetime. And so therefore, the 8th house deals with transformation, with change. It is actually the house of change, amongst many other things. It deals with life and death. It deals with birth. It deals with beginnings, change. So the 8th house can be the house of secrets. It deals with understanding the deepest aspects of life, the underworld, the subconscious, our secrets. And when you really get into what the 8th house is about, all the water houses 4, 8, and 12 deal with emotions. It deals with deep emotional issues. So the 8th house deals with getting to the bottom, the root cause of things. Therefore, it deals with understanding human behavior, what makes people tick. Therefore, the 8th house is the house of psychoanalysis. So it's the house of psychology. People with powerful planets here want to get to the bottom and understand life. Therefore, sometimes they may go into human behavior, such as psychology, counseling on this level. The 8th house is death and endings, and it's death and endings that come abruptly many times, because the 12th house can deal with endings and death, but so does the 8th house. What's the difference? The difference is this. The 8th house can deal with disgrace and humiliation. When anyone that has planets here can attest to, this house deals with disgrace and humiliation. It can deal with drug addictions. It can deal with psychological problems, because it deals with this psyche that is beyond what we can probably understand on this level of awareness. It's beyond this world. So the 8th house is the house that deals with major change when we come to these understandings of what our life is for. It's the house of, I want to say, hidden blessings, because when we make these realizations, of why we're here. It's the house of psychic perception. It's the house that can deal with total transformation when you come to understand why you're here, what life's about. It's also the house that deals with sexuality in the deepest sense of the word, and therefore it deals with charisma, sexual magnetism. And when you think of Marilyn Monroe, I mean, she was absolutely beautiful. She had Mars and Jupiter in the 8th house. There's millions of starlets that are beautiful, but what defines Marilyn Monroe is her charisma, her incredible charisma. We still talk about her today. So the 8th house has this pull, magnetism, charisma, sexuality, deep core issues, can deal with addictions and suicide. When people come to that dark night of the soul, these are 8th house matters. And many times, if the person isn't willing to wait, they could cause their own demise. The 8th house is one of the most difficult houses of the zodiac, because it does deal with this humiliation. And going back to when President Clinton was in office and he had the scandal with Monica Lewinsky, he has his natal moon in the 8th house. And I remember during that time, transiting Saturn crossed his moon, and he came into one of the most disgraceful periods of his life. So let's talk about if you have some planets in the 8th house. If you have the sun in the 8th house, this can be reflective of the father. The sun is the karka for father. So there can be some disgrace associated with the father. And this would make you definitely a part of deep times of humiliation or problems, because this is where your heart is, attracted to psychology, transformational sciences. And don't forget, the 8th house deals with metaphysical sciences. It's understanding things beyond this world. If you have Mercury in the 8th house, this is actually the only planet that does well in the 8th house. It actually picks up strength, and it makes someone very research-minded, somebody that can get to the bottom of things, understand things, highly intelligent. If you have Venus in the 8th house, this can bring great wealth. Because another thing I didn't go over with the 8th house, because it does deal with issues around death, it deals with inheritances, because the 8th house is relative to the 2nd house. It's the opposite house, so it deals with money that we share with other people. So therefore, it can be inheritances, because that comes through death, or it can be money that we attain through our partnerships, our marriage, because it's the 2nd house from the 7th house. It is our partner's money, and this can reflect how wealthy your husband or your wife may be, how much money they have before you marry them, their family money, things of that nature, how much money they acquire. This is the 8th house. So Venus in the 8th house can represent a very prosperous and wealthy partner. It can also represent a deep sensual and sexuality that you possess, and that there is this need to really dissect and understand your life from a deeper perspective, a creative perspective. If you have Mars in the 8th house, this can be accidents. This can be problems with brothers or sisters. Why? Mars is the karaka for siblings. And also Mars in the 8th house can represent a deep yearning to understand information from the deepest perspective, because Mars is the planet of intelligence. Remember, Einstein had exalted Mars in the 8th house, but there's something associated with deep disgrace and humiliation. Einstein was devastated by the fact that his invention caused so much suffering to so many people in the world, as the bombing in Hiroshima did. If you have Jupiter in the 8th house, this can be very intuitive, insightful, a lot of money through inheritance, through family. It can be interest in metaphysical sciences as well. Saturn in the 8th house, you may not get as much from your inheritance from your family. It might have run out. It's not as much. Also, let me add this, Saturn in the 8th house means you live a long time. Longevity. May not be healthy, so you got to take care of yourself as Saturn's in the 8th house, but you will live a really long time, generally as a whole. Saturn in the 8th house can cause you to have some disgraceful events as well, some problems, some issues, deep issues, core issues. Rahu in the 8th house can definitely be some type of addictions or problems that go deep, generational. Some kind of inherited type problems that can deal with mental disease. But at the same time, it can be astounding intelligence, deep connection to other worlds and psychic, almost incredible supernatural experiences. And good inheritance. Whereas K2 in the 8th house can represent that the money runs out, you don't get the inheritance that you think you should have. There's some sort of displacement or problem through inheritance. K2 in the 8th house can also represent quick endings, difficulty around matters of death, but it can make you extraordinarily psychic and intuitive. Deep understanding of the past and deep understanding maybe even of past lifetimes. If you have Uranus in the 8th house, this can be sudden glimpses of insight, inventive, creative, but can also represent disgrace and humiliation, can happen in an instant. Don't do anything illegal with this placement. Neptune in the 8th, very psychic, intuitive, beyond words, very creative, understanding things of other realms, of other worlds, of the other side, connection to the spirit world. Also, it can represent possibly being taken over by energies, other people's energies or spiritual energies. Be careful of that. Pluto in the 8th house can be large inheritances, but don't be controlled by money. That could be a Pluto in the 8th house, massive money, but that it controls you. It controls your life and causes problems. So with that, I'd like to close. If you would like to learn Vedic astrology, the answer is the University of Vedic Astrology.com. This is the university where I offer accreditation, a certification in Vedic astrology. And if you would like more information on my work, you can always go to my website, which is galacticcenter.org. Thank you.